Welcome to the Gaming Pulpit. This is your host, All Things Sony. Let me know in the comments what you liked or disliked about the video, and if you liked it, a sub would be appreciated. Let me start off by telling you niggas that I will not be doing the Saturday podcast anymore for the foreseeable future. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to start that again. It's probably going to be another Guess the Metacritic podcast, but I won't be doing it the way that I used to do it here. I'm going to keep it focused on the Gaming Pulpit. So the good news is, if you do watch the channel, these Gaming Pulpits are going to be a little longer. I'm going to cover more subjects. So let's dive in. So I want to start off actually talking about the NPDs for this past month, I believe. And it's not looking pretty for Microsoft. I mean, I know this is a PlayStation-centric, Sony-centric YouTube channel, but I figure I'll just let you know, because the competition inadvertently involves itself with, Sony stuff. Either way, so the hardware sales in the US for July, it's leaked. And if you didn't know, the Switch, which is doing, I don't know why the Switch sells what the fuck it sells, but it's, I guess, I mean, I don't know how much not Monster Hunter, what the fuck do people like Animal Crossing you can get? I really don't know. But either way, I digress. I mean, different strokes, right? So, I'm looking here and I see 340,000 was sold, Switches, by the way, of, in the US. 150,000 PS4s were sold. I presume that's also including the Pro. And get this, 17,000 Xbox Ones, Xbox One X, Xbox One S. All of that amounts to 17,000 for the month of July. And that's despite the PlayStation 5 only being 4 months away. It looks like, Ghost of Tsushima did some numbers, which, by the way, if you haven't picked that up, you should probably pick it up. This is going on the initiative of Sony and their exclusives, and them trying to reach out to or dabble into the multiplayer realm. If you've been living under a rock, Sucker Punch has basically announced that they had a co-op in play. In store. They're balancing it right now and making sure everything works. So I was playing the game and I'm like, you know what? These mechanics lends itself to multiplayer of some sort. So I was like, I hope if they make a Ghost of Tsushima 2 or whatever they do, it will have these particular mechanics. So I was proud of that. I was like, okay, cool. And out of nowhere, a nigga just sucker punched me right in the ovaries and said that they're going to do some multiplayer, which I was like, oh shit, there's going to be a full-fledged story cooperative and then kind of like a hordes situation. It's going to be fucking dope. But Sony has been doing this shit for a while. Where the fuck was I at? Why did I mention that in the first place? Either way, I just wanted to let you know, I think that Ghost of Tsushima definitely helped with the sales. And the other portion is the Xbox is going to get slaughtered. It's fucking open season for them. Like, I don't know. They were saying some shit about the PlayStation 5 being costly, and then I think her name is Alana Pierce, some British bitch. I don't fucking know. I'm really not feeling white chicks at the moment anyway. I digress. That's a personal thing right now. But she goes ahead and she says that there was some sort of leaked information. There was also like a Mountain Dew or something. Somebody did a calculation and saw that it seems that the Xbox Series X is a $600 console. And it's one of the reasons why they have Xbox Series S in its place. Now, here's a kicker when it comes to fanboys, because they're like, the PlayStation 5 is so weak, it's 10.3 teraflops that was overclocked. You got a weak console. And I'm going to talk about the PlayStation 5 and some things with that too a little bit later. But yeah, they were complaining about that. But then the Xbox Series S is supposed to be an actual 4 teraflop console that's supposed to scale linearly downwards. So I'm like, okay, if that's the case, you guys can't even talk about power because I was looking on Twitter and there was a whole bunch of stuff about there was a I don't know, some sort of conference about the Xbox Series X and about its ray tracing features, and apparently it has like a sound chip that is more powerful than a Tempest, or I think it's Tempest, um, uh, PlayStation 5 solution. And we don't know anything about that. That was kind of floating around too. They were saying the Xbox Series X is that much more powerful than the strongest GPU out there, which you gotta be like, that's kind of hard to believe because I mean, you're not gonna get a $600 console that has a CPU, a motherboard, and some fucking hard drive that's more powerful than a singular GPU. That's okay, whatever. Either way, um, that's what's been going on. I don't know how they're going to make it without the exclusives and shit like that. Somebody even tried to argue with me, talking about some, oh, you can play, you're one and done games, you're one and done games. I'm like, dude, what do you mean one and done? Fucking Ghost of Tsushima, they just announced that they have multiplayer. Oh, you're gonna play that, for what, 10 minutes, and then no one's gonna talk about it anymore. I was like, dude, what do you play? Sea of Thieves. I was like, all right, dude, this conversation's over. Either way, um, so there's that. Sony is kicking their ass, and it's still selling crazily, despite the fact that we are going to get a PS5 this year. But I think the reason why it's selling too low key is that we don't know the price of the PS5, and I think that Sony should really try to. I don't know. These things are probably going to be expensive, but I went ahead and I was looking at I rewatched the technical deep dive of the PlayStation 5, and I don't think any of us was listening to what this man was saying because a lot of things has come to light. Um, what are we going to talk about next? The format is completely different. I've had a change of heart and some change of a whole bunch of things. But let me see what our next subject is going to be. Oh, about the development cycle, the way that the development process of Sony and Microsoft. Let's talk about that. Word around the block is that developers are actually saying that they started working for Microsoft first and then Sony, and then said that Microsoft was really difficult to work with. They said that Microsoft doesn't even allow certain genres of games to be made because they don't sell well. It explains exactly why Game Pass is in the state that it's in now, and why Microsoft doesn't buy studios, because it's all about the money for them. It's about the money for every company, but especially for them. They don't give a fuck about you. They really don't care. They have no pride. They have no honor. Is what they say in Ghost of Tsushima. They said that the 4K rumor is pure bullshit, and some developers have been playing in even 8K resolution. This is for the PlayStation 4, by the way. They say that the SSD is about 60 times faster at loading than a regular SSD, or a regular hard drive. They said that Sony treats the developers better and allows them to go with their creative directions and support their decisions. This explains why The Last of Us was exactly what it was, because Neil Druckmann was doing whatever the hell he was trying to do, whatever political shit he was trying to do with that game, and I'm glad it failed, and I'm glad that Ghost of Tsushima did well. It turns out that Sucker Punch is a better developer. They actually make games and not political statements and not fucking interactive movies. If you want to do all that shit, go to Hollywood. But I digress. They said that the game that they are talking about should be out and around in October. Are they working on? I don't know what the fuck it is. And it said that the new generation of consoles will be able to achieve new levels of AI with the extra power. So the bottom line is this: Microsoft just doesn't have any interest in stake in video games unless it makes them residual money. The money maker, the cow in the 360 era was Xbox Live. you know, they relied on third party and they pushed the multiplayer so people can buy Xbox Live. You don't believe me? Look it up. That's what they were doing. That's the fuck what they were doing. Whether you want to agree with me or not, that's what it is. Point blank. Sony is a different story because they have a lot at stake. The PlayStation at this point in time is like what, a quarter or half the company in terms of revenue and just popularity. I mean, the music industry is doing well for because they own music labels, and the movie portion is doing well. There's a lot of overhead that costs a lot for marketing and shit like that. The PlayStation is making a lot of fucking profit. They have their own store and infrastructure and shit like that. So they have a lot to lose if they fuck it up. Like I said before, whether you like it or not, I think it's anti-consumer. The bottom line is that you do need exclusive content to sell your shit. How is anything going to? How are you going to differentiate anything if like what's the point of different brands? If you want all your shit in one. And by the way, like I said before, the Game Pass. I said this before on my Take a Break podcast where I had it. Game Pass is just a shitty idea. It's not sustainable. It's only meant for little tiny fucking games where you have the like shit like Fall Guys. It's not a bad game at all. But that's the type of games that you'll get with Game Pass and maybe one AAA title, and you shut the fuck up. That's what Microsoft is looking for. And then you have to buy DLC for clothes and shit like that. Microtransaction, I should say, for clothing and different skins and whatnot. That's the shit that they're looking for, whether you want to admit it or not. That's what it is. And that's why I don't support them. And that's why they're going to get their ass kicked in this generation too. My question in Wildcard is really the Switch. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with that. Why does it sell so much? I'm really curious. I mean, it's doing crazy amounts of fucking numbers. I don't know if the hype for Animal Crossing is really getting to people. I don't fucking know, but I don't think that it really should do that. I mean, but different strokes, like I said before. What do we have here? Let me see what I want to talk about. And I totally forgot. Now that we were on the subject earlier about Game Pass, right? I completely forgot. This is why Game Pass is not the future. So, Red Dead Redemption 2 time on Game Pass is coming to a sudden end. Despite the fact that during the services in May, Red Dead Redemption 2 will become unavailable September 7th. So this is one of the reasons why I don't fuck with Game Pass. This is it. This is it. I don't know if people thought that you were going to get fucking 800 titles for $15 a month, but I'm pretty much over with the Game Pass conversation, to be honest with you. I think I'm done. Let's talk about PlayStation 5 news, actually. So there was a stream of tweets and production videos or whatever, advertisements, whatever you want to call it, about the features of the PlayStation 5. So one of the things is this. I didn't know this, but supposedly for the Spider-Man game, the adaptive triggers, there's a lot more than I thought was going to be in there. You could actually feel the direction of danger. This is what Insomniac said, the direction of danger with the controller. I didn't fucking know that. I mean, we have the whole 3D sound. We already know about that. But I didn't know you could do that. And in essence as well, in Deathloop, which was delayed, unfortunately. Not that it fucking matters. I think it was going to be multiplayer anyway. But this is the type of stuff that differentiates your shit. Guns Jam and Deathloop, excuse me. And in this particular case, when your gun jams, so does the triggers. So you can't press the controller down, or you can feel it. So there's that. So that's fucking crazy. There's so much to learn about this controller. I mean, it's bigger. A lot of people are thinking like, oh, it looks like the Xbox One controller, but I think it's because it has a lot of other features in there and need to be bigger, and the ergonomics of the controller need to be different. Sony is really full ahead. They full on steam, whatever the fuck you want to call this shit. They're on. They full steam ahead. That's what they are, right? They also mentioned that the upcoming PlayStation 5 lineup is the best lineup that they've ever seen in the history of PlayStation. That's all of the handhelds and everything else that comes along with it. You know, you gotta be serious about this shit. If you're gonna be, if you're gonna be in it to win it, you're gonna have to be a bit serious about your games. And Microsoft just isn't really for it. You already know that Microsoft is really trying to sell the Game Pass. And if you hear me scraping shit, I'm cooking because I do the intermittent fasting and I kind of have to eat like as soon as possible. I'm gonna let this shit. I already turned this off. I got all my shit down. Let me put this in the refrigerator before I start my actual streaming. Get your ass over here. All right, cool. But anyway, yeah, they had a pretty decent like launch lineup for the PlayStation Vita. And really, the PlayStation, well, I can't say PlayStation 2, but they had a lot of shit going on with the PS2. I mean, they did. I give them the credit for that. But that's fucking insane. That's insane. They're not playing any games. And as I told you before, it did like 170 or 150,000, where Xbox, with all of the most powerful console, sold only 17,000 within a month of July, which just lets you know that they're definitely around like 45 to 50 million versus worldwide Xbox versus like 112 or whatever the fuck Sony said. So they're fucking screwed. They're screwed. They're done. They are all the way done. I think lastly, I do want to talk about this too. I don't think I have anything else to say about that. Okay, so going back to what I said before, I rewatched the whole deep dive for the PlayStation 5 architecture. And you remember how everybody was like tripping over it? They only said 100 titles was available. You know, oh my god, I can't believe they did that. They said it was only going to be 100 titles available for backwards compatibility, when the guy clearly said it was, you know, for boosted shit. That kind of made me think, like, let me go back and kind of take a look and check to see what else is going on with this dude. What else he's saying. So, I'm trying to see what I screenshotted. Let me see. Okay. Everybody was talking about the ray tracing, right? And how the ray tracing needs more CUs and shit like that. And the PlayStation 5 obviously only has 36, and it's kind of a limitation. You know what I mean? Microsoft has like the killer shit going on. Whatever. Okay, you got it. But one of the things that Mark Cerny said is that when you do ray tracing, it requires a lot of fucking RAM. You need a lot of, it's memory intensive, rather. That's what I want to say. It is memory intensive, you know? And I can totally understand why Sony opted to have the hard drive, the SSD, function almost like RAM. It's so fast that it can pull all the information from the hard drive. Anything that it needs, you don't have to duplicate anything. So now that I'm looking at why they made the decisions that they made, it just lets you know what they're trying to do. If it requires a whole ton of memory, then it could pull it directly from the hard drive without any kind of seek times or any type of hiccups. This is why people say that the SSD is important, because it's not just faster loading. You know what I mean? It's not just no repeats of assets. The PlayStation 5 has a lot of different little pieces in there that they just didn't put towards the GPU, because again, it seems like the GPU for the Xbox Series X is going to be limited by some things. I don't always know what's going on, but I know that the R&D for the PlayStation 5, I haven't really did a deep dive of my own. I do know what the capabilities of the GPU for the Xbox Series X is, but the capabilities don't mean shit. I mean, you look at Nintendo 64, super fucking powerful, but it had so many bottlenecks that it was just not worth it. It didn't have enough RAM, for memory. It didn't have enough caches or cache for their games. The only thing that had going good for it, it was a powerful GPU, or it didn't really have a GPU, but it was a powerful chipset. Problem was, it was forgetful. It couldn't hold a lot of memory. You know what I mean? So you had to stream it, and them using cartridges allowed for them to stream it. But then there was another bottleneck. There was not enough space on a cartridge to even fucking utilize everything that it had. So a lot of the games looked muddy. A lot of them didn't even run well, regardless if it had texture filtering or not. I think that the Xbox Series X is like the N64. Not as bad. I'm sorry, that's too strong. That's not nowhere close as being bad. I won't say that. That's complete fanboy shit. But it is what Sony did with the PlayStation 5. What they ended up doing with the PlayStation 5 is working on how data flows within the system. Not just a fast SSD or a crazy 12-channel fucking input-output digital processing unit. That's not what they were trying to do only. There's other things that it does too. It unpacks and packs data on its own separate chip. A lot of things, a lot of different things. Go rewatch what Mark Cerny has said. Now that you have a clearer vision and there's more information out in general about AMD's chipset. It's a lot of things that they said that I didn't understand, and now I understand better as time progressed. But I can see why. If ray tracing needs a lot of memory, not just bandwidth, but a lot of memory, then we won't have the memory. This is why they settle for 16 gigabytes of system memory. Because they don't need it. At least Sony doesn't need it, because the the SSD works as an extra RAM cache, for certain things. And again, I'll say this. This is why the SSD at that speed is important. It's very important. People think that, you think it's going to really improve graphics. It could. It could. And then they also mentioned some shit about this too. Let me see if I saw this earlier. Let me see. He goes ahead and he says, when you use a lot of those compute units, it's harder to fill. How can I put this? It's harder if you have all those small triangles when you make your game. It's harder to try to fill or try to make all of those CU's compute units work with smaller triangles than there are with bigger triangles in general. Basically, what that simply means is that it's going to be very hard to utilize at this moment. You need a lot of bandwidth for the data that goes in and out of the system, or in and out of the RAM and things of that nature. It's not going to be easy to keep all of them working, keep all the plates spinning on a stick. That's what it is. The less you have, the easier it is to kind of balance out your workload until we get to that point. You know what I mean? The way that polygons work, you smaller polygons, if you didn't know, is inefficient. It's super inefficient. And that's why they have geometry engines and vertex programming techniques and things like that, where the computer is doing most of the thinking for you. We gotta see on this generation, but like I said before, the advancements that Sony made, I truly, truly believe that Sony looked at this. And again, the PlayStation 5 is very, how can I put it? The PlayStation 5 is, they try to be as cost effective as possible with the budget they had. And Mark Cerny's a smart man. He's not going to throw a whole bunch of shit. Even with the Xbox, the original Xbox, back in 2000, much more powerful than any console in the market. It did nothing for their games. It barely looked that much better. You know what I'm saying? You didn't get 60 frames per second games all the time either. And the polygon count for those games were not much more, sometimes less. Again, because if you have more power, more money, more problems. You know what I'm saying? You start putting that power towards other things, and that bogs down the whole system because you think that it could do better, and you add more stress to the system. It's just, if you want things to look better with more power, then there's a balance. That's all I gotta say. There's a balance. There is a balance.